Hi y'all, Kraken Latte here. It's that time again where I bring you my tips, facts, or experience that you may or may not find helpful. Welcome back to Dragonflight Beta! We are back again with Enchanting, but this time we're going to look at the specializations. I got up to 25, well 26 technically, but high enough to be able to at least look at the professions. Not gonna bother unlocking each one necessarily because we don't need to if we're just looking at them. So I'm gonna go ahead and unlock this first one here, but it doesn't matter too much. So let's look at what we got. We have 3 different ones here. We have Enchantment in Sight of the Blue and Rods, Runes, and Ruses. So in the Enchantment tab, we have Specialize in Enchanting Combat and Profession Equipment with the Powerful Magic and Primal Might of the Dragon Isles. So, our base one here is Enchantment. So, we want to improve at understanding magical properties and their applications, gaining +1 skill per point in this specialization. And then let's look at the extra little nubs here. +5 skill when making enchantments, +5 inspiration, learn a sub-spec of your choice, which is one of these here. +5 resourcefulness when making enchantments, learn the final sub-spec, so you can pick both. +5 inspiration, enchantment crafts are $5 faster. I'm sure that's probably supposed to be percent or whatever, but right now it's $5 faster. Pay $5 and your enchantments are faster. Pay to win, definitely. +5 resourcefulness and +10 skill when making enchantments. And that is our first enchantment nub. Boop. A little node. Alright, so if we go on the left here, first we have Primal. Learn to harness the primal elements of the Dragon Isles, gaining +1 skill per point in this specialization. So our first little node nub here, +5 skill when making enchantments. That's incorrect. This one. Learn a sub-spec of your choice, which is from all of these here. +5 inspiration when making primal enchantments. Learn a sub-spec of your choice. +5 resourcefulness. Learn a sub-spec. +5 skill. +10 inspiration, learn a sub, +10 skill, +10 resourcefulness, and primal crafts are 10% faster, learn the final sub. So, with each of these, we have different elements. We have burning, learn to control the fire within your enchantments, gaining +1 skill per point in the specialization. So we only have a few here, but that's okay. They probably don't need that many. We have learn to craft burning devotion. Interesting. +5 skill when making burning enchantments, and learn to use special finishing reagents that improve crafting quality of burning enchantments. Neat. And then we have earthen. Learn to bind the earth within your enchantments, gaining +1 skill per point in this spec. And then we have learn to craft earthen devotion, +5 skill, and finishing reagents. We have frozen, learn to gather the frost within your enchantments. Same thing. Learn to craft frozen devotion, +5 skill, and finishing reagents. These are all roughly the same on this side, obviously, but they would need to be, otherwise, it won't be balanced and fair, I suppose. Although I do kind of wish they would get a little crazy. But anyway, Titanic. Learn to invoke Titanic power within your enchantments, getting +1 skill per point with this spec. Learn to craft Titanic devotion, +5 skill, and finishing reagents. And then we have wafting. Why they went with that word, I don't know, but it just amuses me. Learn to channel air currents within your enchantments. So we have learn to craft wafting devotion, +5 skill, and finishing reagents. Alright, so that's the primal side. And then on the other side here we have material manipulation. Improve at modifying equipment for your every need, gaining +1 skill per point in this spec. So, we have resourcefulness, +5 resourcefulness when making material manipulation enchantments. Very interesting. +5 skill, learn a sub, +5 inspiration, +5 skill, learn a sub, plus 10 resourcefulness, plus 10 skill, and plus 10 inspiration when making material manipulation enchantments, and learn the final sub. So in that little tree here, we have become an expert at crafting adaptive enchantments, hence the name. So we have learn to craft Devotion of Avoidance, plus 5 inspiration when making adaptive enchantments, learn to craft Devotion of Leech, plus 5 skill when making adaptive enchantments, learn to craft Devotion of Speed, plus 10 rather when making adaptive enchantments, and adaptive crafts are 10% faster, and learn to use powerful finishing reagents. So very neat. Now we have Artistry. Become an expert at crafting Artistry enchantments, gaining plus 1 skill per point in this spec. So we learn to craft Draconic Inspiration, plus 10 inspiration, plus 5 skill. Learn to craft Draconic Resourcefulness, plus 10 resourcefulness, plus 10 skill, and Artistry crafts are 10% faster. Learn to use powerful finishing reagents. So now our last little nub here is Magical Reinforcement. Learn to improve essential combat abilities, gaining plus 1 skill per point in this specialization. So we have learn to craft Waking Stats. Get woke, guys. Plus 5 resourcefulness when making magical reinforcement enchantments, plus 5 inspiration, plus 5 skill, learn to craft Reserve of Intellect, plus 10 skill, and magical reinforcement crafts are 10% faster, and also learn to use powerful finishing reagents. So nothing super exciting, but this, as you know, the name suggests, for enchantment is boosting your enchantment recipes and teaching you some new ones. So not super exciting, but that's fine. Not everything needs to blow you out of the water. Sometimes just some simple, you know, skill increases are perfectly fine. So our next tab here, this is a short little one, is Insight of the Blue. This one is specialized in understanding the magic contained within items and elements from the Dragon Isles and how to extract them. And like I've mentioned before in previous profession videos here on Dragonflight stuff, there's a lot of room out here. So while these look teeny tiny now, I'm speculating that they're gonna add more. Like, you know, sometimes they add new recipes and stuff later in the expansion to try to keep professions feeling a little more fresh. I imagine they're gonna do that with these, especially some of these itty bitty tiny ones. I mean, what? You know, a little underwhelming, but who knows? Let's see what it does. There's a whole bunch of little nodes on this. So Insight of the Blue. Improve at perceiving magical items, gaining plus 1% chance to locate disenchantable items per point in this specialization. Interesting. What does it mean by locate? So, is that like increasing the drop of greens or something that we'll get while we're out there? Like, because that'd be kind of interesting for enchanting. That would give enchanting a new take, I would think. Increasing BOE drops. I don't know if that's what it is, but that's me speculating. So let's see here. Learn to increase your magical perception, gaining a small chance to locate disenchantable items. Well, they're either like special items that, you know, you can't do anything else with, or it increases BOE items chance drop. Should be interesting. That would give enchanting an interesting edge. Plus 5 resourcefulness when making enchantments. Learn a sub. Plus 5 inspiration. Plus 5 skill. Plus 5% chance to locate disenchantable items. Plus 5 resourcefulness when making enchantments. Learn the final sub. Plus 5 inspiration. Plus 10 skill. And plus 10% chance to locate disenchantable items. So, interesting. Yeah. Also, it looks like they changed it back. I had pointed it out in my last couple profession videos that I noticed both specializations 2 and 3 could only be learned at 100, whereas they were 25, 50, and 100, and it looks like 50 is back in the list here, unless it's like a profession thing, but I kind of doubt that. That seems a little weird to lock it behind specific professions as to when you can learn your specializations. I don't know. But anyway, that's kind of nice. I like that because being able to learn a second spec about halfway through your skill, you know, it feels a little more rewarding than having to max it all the way up and then learning everything all at once. You know, spread it out a little bit. Feels kind of better in my opinion. But anywho, we have Insight of the Blue. We just read that top one. Let's go right this time. Primal Extraction. Learn to better extract the essences within primal elementals, gaining +1 chance to acquire additional essences per point in this specialization. Alright. So we have learn to improve your essence extraction, gaining small chance to acquire additional essences. That's handy. More materials are always welcome. +5 inspiration. Learn to craft elemental shatter. So that's where we get the shatter recipes, it looks like. +5 skill. Learn to craft order elemental. So our lovely little pet that we looked at the end of the recipes video for enchanting. Adorable little elemental. It's all purple and cute. Want it. Love it. Need it. +5 inspiration, +5 skill, +10 inspiration, and further study the shattering process, improving your skill at crafting with the shattered essence while its power lingers within you. Lovely. I like that. Alright, so on the other side we have Draconic Disenchantment. So this is all about disenchanting and like extracting stuff. I mean, it says that obviously, but interesting. Learn to better recover magical reagents from items, gaining +1% chance of additional reagents per point in the specialization. Alright, so we have learn to increase your disenchanting proficiency, potency, gaining a small chance to acquire additional reagents, +5 skill, learn to craft crystalline shatter, +5 skill, learn to better disenchant armor and profession equipment, gaining a small chance to acquire additional vibrant shards. So it looks like vibrant shards are going to be our new enchanting crystal of the expansion. Lovely name. And it says armor and profession equipment. So apparently we can disenchant profession equipment. So that's handy. If you like, I can see this going a couple different ways. Like either profession equipment will become cheap, depending on, you know, how expensive it is to make profession equipment. And remember, that's what goes here. You can't really use them for anything else, so I like that you can disenchant them. And also, you can disenchant them. I don't know what else to say on that. I lost where I was going with it. Anyway, I like that you can disenchant it. Oh! It could become like, you know, I don't want to say disenchanting fodder, but that's kind of what comes to mind. Like maybe if they become cheap or easy to craft, that could be a good way to get some quick enchanting materials to, instead of having to enchant all these BOEs and only gear. I would like having alternatives for that because, you know, that can be kind of a pain when your only source is armor and weapons. It really is to me, so. But yeah, okay, so that's cool. Moving on. +5 skill, +5% chance to acquire additional reagents, +10 skill, and learn to better disenchant weapons, gaining a small chance to acquire additional resonant crystals. So there's our big crystal. That must be the purple one, I would imagine, and the vibrant shards are the small ones, it looks like, for Dragonflight. Alright, so that's Insight of the Blue. Moving on to Rods, Runes, and Ruses. So, specialize in mastering your tools and researching the mysteries of enchanting in the Dragon Isles. So, we have Rods, Runes, and Ruses. Improve at utilizing your tool and reagents effectively and efficiently. I can't talk today. So, +5 crafting speed when making enchantments. Certainly handy. Love the increased crafting speed stuff. That's so nice, especially if you're making things in bulk. +5 skill when making enchantments. Learn a sub of your choice. +5 skill. Learn a sub. +5 crafting speed. Learn a sub, +5 skill, +10 skill when making enchantments, and learn the final sub. So another short little tree, but that's okay. We have rods and wands. Improve at crafting enchanting rods and wands, gaining +1 skill per point in this specialization. Alright, so we have learn to use optional reagents to specify the stats on recipes for rods and wands. Alright. +5 skill in making rods and wands. Learn to craft runed Casgarite rod. +5 resourcefulness. Learn to use optional reagents to upgrade item level on recipes for wands. Learn to craft Torch of Primal Awakening. +5 inspiration, +10 skill. And rod and wand crafts are 10% faster, and learn to use finishing reagents for them. Cool. Next node here is Illusory Goods. Learn to entertain and mystify with illusory magic and enchantments, gaining +1 skill per point in this specialization. So that must be where those recipes come from. So we have +5 inspiration making illusory goods. Is it illusory or illusory? I've never been sure how to say that. It's like illusion is the same thing, but I've heard both. Illusion. I don't know. +5 skill. +5 resourcefulness. Learn to craft Scepter of Spectacle Order. +10 skill in making illusory goods. +10 resourcefulness making illusory goods. And learn to craft Illusory Adornment Order. So it looks like only the order ones come from that. Interesting. Now we have Resourceful Writ. Research a new magical efficiencies, gaining +1 resourcefulness per point in this specialization. Alright. Resourcefulness saves 5% additional reagents when crafting enchanting goods. +5 skill when making writs of enchantment. Resourcefulness saves 10% additional reagents when crafting enchanting goods. Handy. +10 skill. Resourcefulness saves another 10%, +10 resourcefulness, and resourcefulness saves another 25% when crafting enchanting goods. So handy. Alright, and the last one is Inspired Devotion. Become inspired through your devotion to magical enchantment, gaining +1 inspiration per point in this specialization. Inspiration grants 5% additional crafting skill when making enchanting goods. Handy. So, we've got Inspiration grants 5% additional crafting skill when making enchanting goods, +5 skill when making devotions of enchantment. Inspiration grants 10% additional crafting skill, +10 skill. Inspiration grants another 10%, +10 inspiration, and Inspiration grants 25 additional crafting skill when making enchanting goods. So, it looks like that is it for the enchanting specializations. Interesting. A little underwhelming, I think. I wasn't sure what to expect, because again, like I've talked about before, there's a fine line when you have multiple different professions, like with Jewelcrafting, Enchanting, and Inscription. Like at face value, they look totally different, but if you really kind of start considering, if you want to get crazy with stuff, they're all magic-based, enchanting type professions at the end of the day. Like, yeah, Jewelcrafting, you know, you can make like necklaces and rings, but what do you usually do with those? They're enchanted, they have magic in them, they're power. Inscription, yes, you're writing stuff on paper, but they're enchanted runes. So, you know, they're all kind of enchanting at the end of the day. And so those three professions kind of have to try to stay unique, but if they get too crazy, they might overlap too much and then it looks weird. So, I don't know. It's definitely a hard line to cross, a hard line to balance, rather. But it did feel a little underwhelming. I'm afraid I don't have any suggestions on this one. I don't like saying things are underwhelming and then not having any suggestions, but alas, if it were my opinion, I would just combine those three professions, but, you know, I'm sure that would split some hairs. So I'm not gonna bother. But there we go. That is the specialization stuff and all the nodes in it for enchantments, for enchanting. If you want to see the recipes, I went over that in the previous episode, so look at that for those. Yeah, it's enchanting. I'm not super whelmed. I'm not underwhelmed necessarily. A little underwhelmed, I guess. I'm just here. Well, I'm just whelmed. That's the middle, I suppose. Anyway, enough of that. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. And there we have it. If you think I've missed information or you want to request I do a specific guide, let me know in the comments below. Even if I don't answer you, I just might add your idea to my list. As always, thank you so much for watching, and remember, it's never too latte.